Welcome to Certification Terminal. In this series of video, we are going to discuss couple of CompTIA A+ Core 2 question and answers. Let's dive in. What was the specific weakness within the encryption process of wired equivalent privacy, WEP? Option A, keying. Option B, initialization vector. Option C, Diffie-Hellman. Option D, seeding vector. The correct answer is Option B, initialization vector. Wired equivalent privacy was an early encryption protocol used to secure wireless networks. One of the specific weaknesses within its encryption process was the misuse and poor management of the initialization vector. The initialization vector is a crucial component of wired equivalent privacy encryption, as it is combined with the encryption key to protect data packets transmitted over the network. Option A, keying, is incorrect. While the keying process in wired equivalent privacy is flawed, it's not the specific weakness being asked about in this question. Keying refers to the process of generating and distributing keys for encryption and decryption. In wired equivalent privacy, the key management mechanism is indeed weak, but it's not the primary focus of the question. Option C, Diffie-Hellman, is incorrect. Diffie-Hellman is a key exchange algorithm used to securely establish a shared secret between two parties over an insecure channel. While it's an important cryptographic concept, it's not directly related to the weakness in wired equivalent privacy's encryption process. Option D, seeding vector, is incorrect. There's no widely recognized cryptographic term as seeding vector. It seems to be a mix-up of seeding and vector. However, neither of these interpretations accurately captures the specific weakness in wired equivalent privacy's encryption process. Next question. While performing a penetration test, maximizing the extraction of information about the target network is essential, and network sniffing is utilized for this purpose. However, passive network sniffing is unable to accomplish which of the following tasks? Option A, modifying and replaying captured network traffic. Option B, identifying operating systems, services, protocols, and devices. Option C, collecting unencrypted information about usernames and passwords. Option D, capturing network traffic for further analysis. The correct answer is Option A, modifying and replaying captured network traffic. Passive sniffing is a technique for monitoring network traffic without interfering with it. It can be a valuable tool for penetration testers to gather information about a target network. However, it has limitations. It cannot modify or manipulate captured data, which eliminates the ability to replay packets for attacks like session hijacking. Next question. Why is it essential to segment networks? Option A, ease of management. Option B, to create more broadcast domains. Option C, to aggregate networks together. Option D, to create larger networks. The correct answer is Option A, ease of management. Dividing large networks into VLANs, virtual local area networks, and subnets is a fundamental strategy in network design aimed at enhancing manageability, efficiency, and security. This approach involves breaking down a single, large network into smaller, more manageable segments, each with its own unique characteristics and purposes. Option B, to create more broadcast domains, is incorrect. Network segmentation aims to reduce the number of broadcast domains, which can improve network performance and security. Option C, to aggregate networks together, is incorrect. Network segmentation involves dividing networks into smaller segments, not aggregating them together. Aggregating networks typically refers to combining multiple networks into a single, larger network, which is the opposite of segmentation. Option D, to create larger networks, is incorrect. Network segmentation involves breaking down networks into smaller, more manageable segments, not creating larger networks. Creating larger networks can lead to scalability and management issues, which segmentation aims to mitigate. Next question. How can someone poison an ARP cache to redirect network traffic? Option A, filling up the ARP cache. Option B, sending gratuitous ARP requests. Option C, sending gratuitous ARP responses. Option D, flooding a switch. The correct answer is option C, sending gratuitous ARP responses. Gratuitous ARP responses involve a host on a network broadcasting an ARP packet with its own IP address and MAC address, even if it hasn't been asked. This action updates the ARP cache of other devices on the network, associating the IP address with the MAC address of the attacker. By sending these gratuitous ARP responses, an attacker can poison the ARP cache of other devices on the network, causing them to send their traffic to the attacker's machine instead of the intended destination. Option A, filling up the ARP cache, is incorrect. Simply filling up the ARP cache of a device wouldn't necessarily redirect network traffic. ARP cache poisoning involves deliberately misleading devices about the MAC address associated with a particular IP address. Option B, sending gratuitous ARP requests, is incorrect. Gratuitous ARP requests are typically used for legitimate purposes, such as verifying if an IP address is already in use on the network. While sending excessive gratuitous ARP requests could potentially disrupt network operations, it is not a method for redirecting network traffic. Option D, flooding a switch, is incorrect. Flooding a switch with a large volume of traffic, such as with a DOS attack, can disrupt network operations by overwhelming the switch's processing capabilities. However, it doesn't directly involve poisoning the ARP cache to redirect network traffic. Flooding attacks typically aim to disrupt network communication rather than redirecting it. Next question. Despite physical access to a Windows 2008 R2 server and an accessible disk drive, you encounter difficulty logging in due to a misplaced password. Yet, you're equipped with an Ubuntu 9.10 Linux Live CD. Which Linux-based tool available on this Live CD facilitates changing any user's password or activating disabled Windows accounts? Option A, CHNTPW. Option B, SET, Social Engineer Toolkit. Option C, Cain Enable. Option D, John the Ripper. The correct answer is Option A, CHNTPW. CHNTPW, also known as Offline NT Password and Registry Editor, is a Linux-based tool that facilitates changing any user's password or activating disabled Windows accounts. This tool allows users to modify the Windows SAM, Security Account Manager, database offline, enabling password resets and account reactivations without needing to boot into the Windows operating system. Option B, SET, Social Engineer Toolkit, is incorrect. SET is not a tool specifically designed for resetting Windows passwords or activating disabled Windows accounts. It is an open-source toolkit used for penetration testing, particularly focusing on social engineering attacks. Option C, Cain Enable, is incorrect. Cain Enable is a password recovery tool, primarily used for recovering passwords from various sources such as network sniffing, brute force attacks, and dictionary attacks. While it can be used for recovering Windows passwords, it is not specifically tailored for resetting passwords or enabling disabled accounts. Option D, John the Ripper, is incorrect. John the Ripper is a powerful password cracking tool used for recovering lost passwords through brute force and dictionary attacks. However, it does not have the functionality to change passwords or activate disabled Windows accounts. Its primary purpose is password cracking, not account management. Next question. Imagine a scenario with three companies, A, B, and C, competing globally in a demanding environment. Companies A and B team up to develop a product, expecting a notable competitive advantage. However, Company A maintains a secure DNS server, whereas Company B's DNS server is vulnerable to spoofing. Exploiting this vulnerability, Company C intercepts outgoing emails from Company B. How can DNS spoofing be prevented? Option A, install DNS logger and track vulnerable packets. Option B, disable DNS zone transfer. Option C, disable DNS timeouts. Option D, install DNS anti-spoofing. The correct answer is Option D, install DNS anti-spoofing. DNS spoofing involves the malicious manipulation of DNS responses to redirect traffic to a fraudulent website or intercept communications. Installing DNS anti-spoofing measures can help prevent such attacks by implementing techniques such as DNS SEC, domain name system security extensions, or deploying DNS firewalls that detect and block spoofed DNS responses. Option A. Install DNS logger and track vulnerable packets is incorrect. While installing a DNS logger can provide visibility into DNS traffic and help identify suspicious activity, it does not directly prevent DNS spoofing. It is more of a reactive measure for detecting and investigating security incidents after they occur. Option B. Disable DNS zone transfer is incorrect. DNS zone transfer is a mechanism used to replicate DNS databases across multiple DNS servers. Disabling zone transfers may limit the exposure of DNS information, but it does not specifically address DNS spoofing. Additionally, disabling zone transfers can hinder legitimate DNS operations and scalability. Option C. Disable DNS timeouts is incorrect. DNS timeouts refer to the duration a DNS resolver waits for a response from a DNS server before considering it unreachable. Disabling DNS timeouts would disrupt DNS resolution altogether and is not a viable solution for preventing DNS spoofing. DNS timeouts are essential for maintaining network responsiveness and reliability. Next question. As you hear your neighbor, with whom you maintain a difficult relationship, loudly divulging their network's SSID and password due to experiencing network problems, what strategies do you contemplate employing with this information? Option A. His SSID and password do not slow down your network. Sell them to pals that come to your residence. Option B. To avoid taxing your own network, only use his network when you have significant downloads. Option C. Log onto his network. After all, it is his fault that you were able to gain access. Option D. Nothing, except to advise him to update the SSID and password for the network. The correct answer is Option D. Nothing, except to advise him to update the SSID and password for the network. Instead of exploiting your neighbor's network vulnerability or engaging in potentially illegal activities, such as unauthorized access, you choose to act in good faith by advising your neighbor to update their SSID and password. This approach prioritizes neighborly communication and promotes security awareness. Option A is incorrect. This option suggests unethical behavior by selling your neighbor's network credentials to others. Exploiting someone else's network vulnerability for personal gain is unethical, potentially illegal, and can harm the neighbor's security and privacy. Option B is incorrect. This option advocates for unauthorized access to your neighbor's network, which is unethical and potentially illegal. Using someone else's network without permission can lead to legal consequences and undermines trust and respect in the neighborhood. Option C is incorrect. This option encourages unethical behavior by taking advantage of your neighbor's network vulnerability. Blaming the neighbor for their security oversight does not justify unauthorized access. Logging onto someone else's network without permission is illegal and can have serious legal repercussions. Next question. Within the risk management framework adopted by a medium-sized healthcare IT company, which of the 5 essential risk responses is missing from the selection? Option A, delegate. Option B, avoid. Option C, accept. Option D, mitigate. The correct answer is Option A, delegate. In risk management, the 5 essential risk responses are commonly known as the 5 Ds: avoid, accept, mitigate, transfer, and exploit. However, delegate is not typically considered as one of the core risk responses. Instead, it falls under the broader strategy of transferring risk. Delegating involves assigning responsibility for managing a particular risk to another party, such as outsourcing a task or function to a third-party service provider. Option B, avoid, is incorrect. This risk response involves taking action to eliminate or avoid the risk altogether. It may involve ceasing certain activities, avoiding high-risk areas, or implementing preventative measures to steer clear of potential risks. Option C, accept, is incorrect. Accepting a risk means acknowledging its existence and deciding not to take any action to mitigate or transfer it. This response is appropriate when the risk is deemed acceptable within the organization's risk tolerance levels and the potential impact is deemed manageable. Option D, mitigate, is incorrect. Mitigating a risk involves taking proactive measures to reduce its likelihood or impact. This may include implementing controls, safeguards, or procedures to minimize the risk's potential consequences. Next question. How can data be leaked through a multi-level security solution? Option A, a covert channel. Option B, asymmetric routing. Option C, a bypass regulator. Option D, steganography. The correct answer is Option A, a covert channel. A covert channel is a method by which information is transferred in a way that violates the system's security policy. This can occur by exploiting hidden communication pathways that were not intended for data transmission. Covert channels bypass the system's security mechanisms, allowing unauthorized access to data. Therefore, it is a plausible means through which data can be leaked in a multi-level security solution. Option B, asymmetric routing, is incorrect. Asymmetric routing refers to the situation where the forward and reverse paths of network traffic are different. While asymmetric routing can sometimes cause operational challenges, it is not typically associated with data leakage in the context of a multi-level security solution. Option C, a bypass regulator, is incorrect. There is no standard concept of a bypass regulator in the context of data leakage through a multi-level security solution. This option appears to be a fictional term, and it does not represent a recognized method for data leakage. Option D, steganography, is incorrect. Steganography is the practice of concealing secret information within a seemingly innocuous carrier, such as an image or audio file. While steganography can be used to hide information, it is not necessarily a method for leaking data through a multi-level security solution. Steganography typically involves embedding data within other data to avoid detection, rather than exploiting security vulnerabilities to extract data from a secure system. Next question. What type of honeypot is utilized by security engineers to trap attackers attempting to breach an organization's network, which simulates all services and applications? Option A, research interaction honeypots. Option B, high interaction honeypots. Option C, production interaction honeypots. Option D, low interaction honeypots. The correct answer is Option B, high interaction honeypots. High interaction honeypots are the type of honeypots utilized by security engineers to trap attackers attempting to breach an organization's network by simulating all services and applications. High interaction honeypots provide a comprehensive emulation environment that closely resembles real systems, allowing security professionals to gather extensive information about attacker techniques and behavior. Option A, research interaction honeypots, is incorrect. Research interaction honeypots are used for academic or research purposes to study attacker behavior and techniques. They typically provide a more controlled environment than high interaction honeypots and may not necessarily simulate all services and applications. Option C, production interaction honeypots, is incorrect. Production interaction honeypots are designed to be integrated into a production environment to detect and monitor real-world attacks. However, they are not specifically tailored to simulate all services and applications like high interaction honeypots. Option D, low interaction honeypots, is incorrect. Low interaction honeypots emulate only a limited set of services and protocols, providing basic interaction with attackers. They are less resource intensive compared to high interaction honeypots, but do not offer the comprehensive simulation of all services and applications required to trap attackers attempting to breach an organization's network. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if these questions add value to your preparation. We'll meet in the next video. Take care until then.